your perception of me is a reflection of you. My response to you is a reflection of me. So if I'm hysterical based off of some perception, again, that's me. That's my own stuff. The way that you respond to me is a reflection of you and like your typical response. And if your typical response only serves to escalate the situation, then we both have work to do. Like, you're not absent of fault. If I come in at 100 and you immediately meet me at 100, you not.
No, that's not. Nah, I don't.
That
agree.
is.
I don't. So if someone coming at me with a knife and I knock him the fuck out, is something wrong with me because I met that aggression?
I said.
That's what it sounded like you were saying.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, let me hear it again. Let me run this back, please.
Okay.
Hey, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Brandon, and I am joined today by my marvelous partner and co-host.
Hey, y'all, it's Ciandra.
Welcome to the Buffet Podcast, where we continue to give you endless food for thought.
Welcome back.
I'm
sure you missed us.
Yeah, we missed y'all too. But we was taking a little break. You know what I'm saying? We needed a little Breakington, you know what I'm saying, just to get our minds right. It's time to relax and, feel assured that we use the time wisely to do absolutely nothing. We relaxed and we chilled. We had a good old time, man. We had a good time not doing people in relationships and people out here, you know what I'm saying, being adult. We've learned, I'm sure, to appreciate times of nothingness. Like, what you got going on? Nothing? That sounds like heaven.
It does. It was very nice. That is not my forte. It's not where I naturally lean. So the fact that we did it successfully and like a full day of nothing,
bing bong,
is still an accomplishment. So we're back. With a little amuse bouche. So we're gonna play a clip and respond to it.
Yeah, we got something for you.
Turn me up.
Turn you up. Turn the mic up.
Yep. All right. I don't hear anything, but it could be me.
Talks to us the way our wives will talk to us, right? And so, from our experience, she's being disrespectful.
You're right.
And you'll hear guys say she picks a fight. She's picking a fight. Well, that's because if a guy talked to us that way, he's picking a fight.
Right.
But the question on the table is, this mother of your children, this woman who nurtures you and cares for you, is she really picking a fight? Or is she actually trying to connect? Is she confronting to control? Or is she confronting because she's feeling insecure and needing reassurance? But what happens in the crazy cycle, when she reacts, it appears disrespectful. There isn't any question, any man watching your wife at that time, she's dissing him. Look at that. Can't believe it. Or is she crying out, I'm feeling insecure. You just said or did something that felt unloving to me, and I'm coming at you aggressively because I need reassurance that you love me. No one talks to us the way our wives will talk.
Okay.
I'm still trying to figure out why the old boy was giggling like a baboon in the background, but I guess we probably needed to know the context of like that whole conversation to get it.
I think he was giggling because he agreed. I think that he thought that it was funny that, like, yes, I feel this way. And
that it is like disrespectful.
Yes. Like, I feel this way. People in my friend group maybe feel this way. And that's funny that you would say that it is not disrespect. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, like you wild. Like, yeah,
you're
it's
a wild boy.
Yeah, could be. Maybe I need to, I won't, but I feel like I should find out, the context of that conversation just to get an idea of what it was, how that conversation came about.
Yeah, that's a good point. I should also give credit to the content creators. So Money Smart Guy and the official 7-Figure Squad posted this, and they have a podcast. And they were talking to the best-selling author. Wow,
what's going on?
Put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it. Okay. They were talking to the best-selling author Emerson Eggerichs of Love, Respect, Incorporated. So it seems like this is part of this man's wheelhouse, thinking about love and respect. And this clip, I think, speaks to that. So what is your immediate reaction before I go?
Well, my immediate reaction was like trying to figure out, because he just said like she's being aggressive to you because she's trying to gain reassurance that you love her or you care about her. I'm trying to figure out like why is that the go-to? Like how has it when has it ever been appropriate to use aggression in a way to elicit like soft feelings from anyone? So I just want to figure that out. Like how you coming at me in a way that I'm interpreting as an attack, and you believe that that's going to get you what you need. And also like what exactly was she doing specifically that was interpreted as being like disrespectful and things of that nature. But mainly it's just like as soon as you said she's coming at you aggressively, that you pretty much just like, could I say, is she coming at you with aggression, or is she trying to be reassured? But I don't know. I'm interpreting it as aggression, as if you've been disrespectful. So I'm reacting to it as that. I'm not. That's now instinct is taken, has come into play. Maybe once we do the after hours breakdown of it, and we figure out what it was, we can come to some sort of resolution and things of that nature. But in the moment, you coming at me aggressively, I'm not thinking you're seeking to be reassured for whatever it may be.
That's fair. To me, the aggression was or is the loud talking. If we think about what we said before about the difference between the difference in the way that men and women communicate, and how sometimes in that communication, in that delivery, like if I'm talking to you like this, right, and I'm a woman, if a man was talking to you like that, it would be perceived as aggression, and it also would elicit a different response from you. And I also think that a part of it is like how women can call out to men or like raise their voice to men, like tone, like that kind of stuff that presents aggressively but isn't meant as aggressive. It is more so coming from a place of, in some aspects, in certain contexts, it is more so coming from a place of, I'm asking you for this thing and I'm asking you in this way because I don't feel secure that I'm going to get this thing that I'm asking for, so now I'm turning up. At least that's my interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. I can see. I'm not disputing. I won't dispute your interpretation of it. I can agree with that interpretation as well. The only thing I would dispute is like the effectiveness of that methodology.
Well, yeah, I don't think that it's effective, but I think what's interesting about this clip is how, in response to a woman reacting that way, his encouragement is for the man to take a step into further understanding of where that may be coming from, as opposed to reacting in whatever way would be natural to you. It's an encouragement to say, like, one, listen to what she's saying, but two, in what she's saying and in how she's delivering it, is it meant to be aggressive? Is it meant to elicit like a negative response from me? And let me figure out how I can show some empathy or understanding to her.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think that's what he's trying to get across. He's trying to get us to like. Hey,
and do you agree or disagree with that approach?
What that when if instead of perceiving your woman's behavior as aggressive and disrespectful, see it as a cry for help?
Sure.
I mean, like the petty part of me is saying clearly this is her cry for help, because there's no way she's raising her voice and being disrespectful to me right now. And I'm assuming in this context, this is like in public or in front of people. But even if it's not, it's like, what about me made you think that you can raise your voice at me? Mm-hmm. Like, what have I done to, well, maybe not that part, but like it would depend on like, what had I done that made you feel like you had to raise your voice at me? And is you raising your voice or being aggressive or however they're describing it here, was that appropriate to the situation? So how I'm taking it is like he's talking or he's doing whatever, he's chilling, not knowing anything is wrong, and then suddenly she come out of nowhere and start getting in his face and getting all aggressive. It's like, what the fuck? So in that instance, while on paper it makes sense, and I kind of agree that maybe we should try to take a step back and try to feel like, oh, I wonder why she's doing it. It has to be deeper than her just being like real bitchy right now. Like, is she on her period? Is she like what's going on? These are things that go through men's head when we see when we see what to us seems like a shift in emotion and behavior. It's like we got to go through like what your calculation. Like what I do wrong? Did I forget to do something? Did I say something wrong? What I just say? Is that time of the month? I don't know. Is just her being her? I don't know. And then if all those things come out, then you're like, hey, what's going on? That's a lot for a guy to have to be able, for anyone to be able to have to calculate, think about, process, and then like adapt to, and then decide to be like, no, I'm gonna go this route instead, in that split second of like you in my face, and then my response, my immediate response. And then that's not even including the time it's going to take for me to like suppress my natural instinct to be like a threat. So like I said, theoretically it sounds cool, but it's going to take time. It's going to take active work and time and failure and until you get it right. But in order for you to be able to get that right, you have to go through a lot of more situations in which she's going to be in your face like that. And I'm not confident. I'm definitely not confident. This is me personally. I'm not putting up with that enough for me to like retrain my mind to interpret it in some way. It's like, yo, we're going to learn a better way to communicate that you need some reassurance than you coming at me like this. Because that would never, I'm not going to say never, that would not be a path for me to be like, well, I'm just going to take her doing that and just learn to train myself to be like, oh, when she's like this, that just means I just need to take a step to the side and be like, okay, baby, everything's good. I'm sorry. What's this good? I'm like, no. First, you finna come at me correctly. We're grown ups. You're gonna speak to me like with respect and like as an adult, and then we can get down to I made you feel this way. I did this thing that made you feel this way. I apologize, whatever it may be, and we get to the heart of the problem. I don't think what he was saying, I don't think that's realistic.
I agree with that to a certain extent. I definitely think that it's not fair for you to sign up to be someone's punching bag, especially to your point of if you know for yourself, I'm not able to handle this. Like this, my immediate response to this is something that could escalate, make the situation worse, and make it even more challenging for us to get back to baseline once we resolve it, given the fact that it is probably going to have to happen again, or it will happen again as we're learning how to navigate conflict. So I definitely agree with that. But I would add in a couple of, in something that I attended earlier this week, one of the people there gave a quote that if it's hysterical, then it's historical. Like if someone is acting hysterically about something, it is typically tied to something in their history and their past that they have experienced. And so a part of your responsibility in your response is like having that knowledge of like this, whatever histrionics are going on, probably have less to do with me than it has to do with something you saw with your parents, something you experienced in a previous relationship. And me reacting to this is only going to confirm what that history has already shown you and may do more damage to our relationship. So it does require a lot for you as the receiver to be like, this ain't got shit to do with me. Let me take a step back, help this person in this space and like help them get to another space. But I do think that can be a really valuable skill for you to have, especially in times of someone being hysterical, because it probably ain't got shit to do with you. Like it's probably their own stuff that is like spilling out on you. And I do feel like while it is not your responsibility, it is an opportunity for you to help this person.
I like how you did that. I like how you spun that. It's like, why? It's not your responsibility. So like, you shouldn't have to take it, but subtext. But if you really care about this person, you can use this as an opportunity to not leave them where they are and walk the fuck away.
Yeah.
Which my petty will be like, this is not how we do this. Yeah, I would say like the first time it happens, it could be an opportunity, to both learn about, how to handle the situation. But this ain't something that you can pull out your pocket every time you feel like, shit ain't going your way.
Fair.
Like keep acting like a child. Hey, I'm gonna hit you with don't touch nothing. Don't. So yeah, you got between 2 and 5 times depending on, the patience of whomever you're dealing with to get this shit in order. Like, yeah, the first time everyone gets one. You get one. Like, yo, okay, you must have been really mad. At least let me, explain. Usually, I know you. Hopefully, at this point, I know you enough to know that like this hysterics doesn't just fall out of the sky. I at least got to find out.
That's what I'm saying. The grace there of like hysterics don't just fall out of the sky. So there must be something going on. But I also think another thing that I heard is your perception of me is a reflection of you. My response to you is a reflection of me. So if I'm hysterical based off of some perception, again, that's me. That's my own stuff. The way that you respond to me is a reflection of you and like your typical response. And if your typical response only serves to escalate the situation, then we both have work to do. Like, you're not absent of fault. If I come in at 100 and you immediately meet me at 100, you not.
No, that's not. Nah, I don't.
That
agree.
is.
I don't. So if someone coming at me with a knife and I knock him the fuck out, is something wrong with me because I met that aggression? I said. That's what it sounded like you were saying.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, let me hear it again. Let me just run this back, please.
Okay. My perception of you is a reflection of me.
Mm-hmm. So your perception of me is a reflection of you.
Yes.
Okay.
So if a person is coming at me with a knife, the only way for me to interpret that, for most people to interpret that as is danger, right? This person is walking towards me with a knife in order to harm me. My reaction to that is a reflection of me. So if someone is coming towards me with a knife, I'm going to run. I'm not going to shoot them. I'm going to run. I'm going to try to do what I can to escape their harm, but I'm not going to choose to immediately harm them back. That's a reflection of me and my preferences, my peacemaking. Like,
right. It's neither correct or wrong in what you did. That's what I'm saying. Put that out there right now. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. And so if your reaction to that is to shoot, that's a reflection of you, right? Like, so if I'm coming to you at 100, you have a choice about how you respond. Like, if you automatically go to 100, that means that you ready to go. You just ready to pop off. But if I come to you at 100 and you're like, I'm not going to engage with you, or we should maybe talk about this a little bit later, or can you tell me more about what's happening? That's a reflection of you and your ability to manage conflict and your ability to respond to a situation. That's what I'm saying.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're right. That is a reflection of you, like your response to it, regardless of, whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah. And I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, if I am explosive and then you are explosive as well, we have shared responsibility in the explosion, in the wreckage that is there, because you didn't have to meet me where I was at. And I didn't have to bring it to you, but I'm just saying we're both accountable. That's what I'm saying.
Like 80-20. Don't start none, won't be none.
No, babe. That's not the only option that exists. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think that the argument can easily be inferred or drawn that it seemed like it's almost placing more emphasis on like the responder's response than it is the initiator's initiation. So it's like, it's like, you're like, I did this thing, but like, because you responded to it, how you responded to it, like you kind of got something to do with it too. It's the equivalent of like, someone starts a fight with you, you defend yourself, but y'all both get suspended. But it was like, what you want me to do?
I don't want you. I'm not saying, again, that's why I'm saying there isn't a right or a wrong in terms of your response. I'm just saying you're accountable for your response is what I'm saying.
I give you that one.
And you have to recognize that you're accountable for your response to something. And if again, your response serves to further make a bad situation worse, what you have control over in that conflict is your response. Like, you want things to change. You don't want to continue to experience conflict. You don't want to continue to experience this type of conflict. The thing that you most have control over is your response. So if you,
that's factual.
That's all I'm saying. 100%. So like, you're the same way that we would say if someone is accountable for staying in a bad relationship, like, yes, this person is trash.
You're right.
You're there. You're choosing to be there.
You're right. And let me walk back what I was saying, because you got me with that one. You're right about that. You say, hey, Same thing with like, yeah, you walking down the street, walking down a dark alley at night, you got robbed. Yeah, the robber is stupid. It's like he wrong for that, but
Yes.
my boy, my girl, like, what is you doing walking down a dark alley at night? Like,
Yeah.
protect yourself. So I hear where you're coming from that. Now, that being said, I got to address the part where it's like, okay, say, you know, you come at me with, let's use the argument. You get something you in my face, you're yelling, screaming, histrionic, and I'm like, hey, let's not do this right now. I'm keeping it player, keeping it, you know what I'm saying, keeping it even keel, like relax, and, you know. And then she get more angry, and you like, all right, you keep this up, I'm leaving. You try to leave, and you know, we all seen like clips or stories where, you know, somebody try to walk away and like, where are you going? Why don't you walk away from me? And they following you talking shit. At what point, you know what I mean? Like, I guess that's not.
No, I mean, you're still accountable for your actions. If you turn around and slap that person, you're still accountable for those actions. But you within yourself understand why you got to that place, or like what it's going to take for you to get to that place, and you have more data about that. It's like, you can come at me at 100 and I can respond to you at 50, but I can only be at 50 for
so long,
5 to 10 minutes before I'm going to be at 100. And so now I know if we get into a situation, you got 5 minutes before you need to take a break. Or
so assuming they let you
in a relationship at all.
They let you take that break, because, you know, some people, you just,
well, then you leave that person, right?
Yeah,
like, I think
that's facts.
that is the most extreme situation in which you would have to make a change to that relationship, because clearly that's not working. But
that's true. What's it say? Even Buddha even Buddha let you only slap him 3 times for you know, the gloves come off. But yeah,
that was my Buddha karate move. Or like, what are the people who shoot stuff out their hands?
Superheroes?
No,
Mutants?
not those. The Asian version. From them.
Oh, you're saying. I was like, wait, it almost sound like you're going in a racist territory. But
I was not. But
that's the Asians who do that. I'm like, oh no, like no. Oh, you mean like anime?
Yes, like airbenders and stuff like that. Do they do that with the hands?
Yeah. Oh, you talking about like the little Tai Chi? Yeah.
And then,
yeah, but also Saiyans. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. That one.
And humans too. Pretty much everybody in Dragon Ball Z. But yeah.
Okay. All right, y'all. On to the main course.
All right, main course.
Okay. You gonna ask me?
Yeah. So, what is the main course today?
So today we're gonna talk about conflict.
Spicy.
It is spicy. I want us to talk about the difference between managing and resolving conflict.
There's a difference.
There is a difference. And I want us to talk about some conflict management styles, and like how knowing that can help you in conflict.
I'm with it.
Okay. All right. Let's start with the managing versus resolving conflict. In your mind, what is the difference between the two?
I feel like this question isn't fair to me as like a therapist. I feel like I have some.
That's okay. That's why you're here, to educate the people.
That's true. Well, managing, resolving, I feel like a lot of people, me included until I learned otherwise, was that they're pretty much interchangeable, or could be interchangeable. But to me, and to my understanding of it, is that, you know, when you manage conflict, the too long didn't read definition of the managing is like readers are going to agree to disagree. You know, we come to terms that, like, you know, we may have different opinions. We may, you know, interpret certain situations differently. We recognize how the other person may interpret those situations, and kind of just learn how to move around it without really trying to step on each other's toes. As to resolving conflict, is just like that. We had an issue, we came together, and we came to a resolution where it's no longer a problem anymore. You move forward, and you probably won't have that problem again.
Yes. I think that's exactly right. Managing is about how do we live with the problem. Resolving is let's get rid of the problem. Let's fix it. It's no longer here. And I think, unfortunately, we were raised to expect to resolve conflicts.
All conflict.
We're raised, especially if you think about some of our earliest relationships with siblings, where it's like, you do this, you apologize, it's supposed to be squashed. Nah. There's no more beef. Y'all ain't got no more problems. You can't talk about it again. Don't bring that shit up no more.
That ain't never happened.
It's supposed to be over, right? That's supposed to be the norm for resolving conflict.
Yeah, there's siblings to this day who still fucking arguing over some shit that happened when they was like 10.
Exactly.
And they kids is older than that now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's another part of the flaw of how we're taught to resolve conflict. Of, if you apologize,
everything is okay.
Everything is okay.
Why you still mad? I say sorry.
Yeah, tell him you took his ball. Tell him you said sorry. Hug. Stop crying.
And everything Gucci again.
And everything is supposed to be good again.
Like, nah.
That does not work.
It's on site. It's on site for you. It's on site, bro. Like, we just not gonna do this in front of the family, but it's on site.
Yeah, because I'm still pissed. So I think resolving conflict within itself is a skill to build, and something that we all aren't well versed in. No. But managing conflict even more, we are not. I don't think well versed in. I think we're well versed in avoiding a conflict that we have. Like the Mary J. Blige, like the dodging, the down on the knee. That's us managing conflict. Like, sweep it under the rug. Let's not talk about it.
You see it coming, so it's like, I'm just gonna go this way.
Yeah, that is most people's experience with managing conflict. So there's definitely a distinction between the two, and we're not necessarily well versed.
And which is kind of funny in a sad way, because managing a conflict is significantly more important than the resolution of conflict, because like most conflict isn't resolved. Like, it can't be resolved. It like, you have to learn to manage it. And I think that's like perhaps one of the many reasons where like people aren't making it in like relationships, because like we don't have any kind of conflict management skills. We all focus on resolution, and then if we can't resolve it, then it's just like, well,
we should be done.
If you can't resolve the conflict, that means, well, we're not meant to be, so we're going to go ahead and cut this out and keep it moving.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And what was the number?
69% of problems in a relationship are unsolvable. Yeah,
and shouldn't then would mean that they need to be managed, because they cannot be resolved. And that's real stats. Y'all can look that up.
Yeah, from the Gottman's research, which they have great stuff. They have a lot to offer. So, in thinking about conflict, do you want to start with, should I go conflict management style, or should we talk a little bit more about ways to manage?
Let's go with some ways to manage.
Okay.
Let's give them some answers. Don't let them dig too deep. Not to go too far in. Let's do some ways to manage.
Okay. So conflicts that you may have to manage are those things that are not going to change, right? Those things that are unresolvable. Sometimes it could be habits or traits of your partner. It could be
example could be, your man like doesn't put down the toilet seat, so all the time you keep telling him, and you keep forgetting, because his whole life you've never had to do that.
Yeah. So that's a prime example. And so what has to happen when you're managing a conflict is that you can't resolve to persuade the other person to do the thing differently. What you have to do is communicate how what that person is doing is making you feel when it happens for you. So for the keep the toilet seat up example, you keep the toilet seat up, which Brandon does not do. Praise the Lord.
I was going to say it, but like, I feel like no one would believe me if it's coming out of my mouth, so I needed it to be organic. Like, yeah, that's I don't need to deny anything. I already know I don't do it. I'm not sweating it. It's gonna come out. Go ahead.
Yes, and so you use something like a, hey, I just wanted to say to you, when you left the toilet seat up, I felt blank. I felt like you didn't care about me. I felt like I was left to have a wet booty.
And why didn't you don't look where you before you sit?
That's an example of what not to do. Because
I mean, you can do it. You can do it. Don't let nobody tell you what you can and cannot say. You grown. This is free country. You could do it because it is a legitimate question. Like, bro, like you've been sitting down butt bookie with like to the wind, and you're now looking where you sitting. Anything can be you right now, but it's not an effective response.
It's not an effective response. Especially because I'm not approaching you with this conflict rah. I'm just telling you how it made me feel. I'm approaching you from a place of curiosity of like, hey, I just wanted to check in. This made me feel this way. And I also think that as a partner who is responding to a conflict that we have to manage, a great thing for you to do is say, I hear you. You know, this is something that I struggle with. I'm going to make a better attempt to do it a little bit more often, be a little bit more conscious of this.
Yeah.
And that's how
you're right. You know, are you right? I did. It's this instinct. I just go in there, do my thing, and I, walk off because that's what I've been doing most of my life. But you're right. You know what I'm saying? You got different considerations. I'll do my best, to improve on this because I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to snap into it. It's like, hey, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to make strides. Continue to call me out if I slack. But hey, I do what I can do. Exactly.
I think that's a great example of managing it. Like, I call you out on it. I don't hold the resentment. That's the other thing about managing conflict. If it's something that's going to keep happening, you not saying anything about it doesn't make it disappear. You have to call it out when it does happen, and you have to have a conversation about how it's making you feel and show appreciation for your partner when the conflict doesn't emerge again. Does that make sense? So if you put the toilet seat down and I come out, I'm like, oh, babe, thanks so much for putting the toilet seat down. I really appreciate that you did that.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of something that actually did happen because obviously the toilet seat didn't happen. Remember when we first started moving here, the shower head. Like I had that joint pointed to the door on accident. The cock to the side, and she opened that joint up.
She did it this week. I'm not gonna hold you.
I did.
Yeah, but it didn't bother me.
Damn. I thought I cured it. God damn it! I'm cutting this whole thing out.
No, you're not. But that has to do more with my conflict management style.
I thought I had it. I was like, yes, I haven't done this in like a while. And I'm saying I'd be making sure I try to keep it centered because I didn't even realize I had it like cocked to the side, like
towards the door. I don't know why. And it was coming out. But that speaks to management, though. You thought that you had improved upon it, and while you have, for the most part, the one time that it did happen, I didn't automatically flare up at you because
I got history of trying to make it happen. I'm trying.
Yeah, I give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready for another one? How about you share with them the second one?
Yeah, I'm saying reading up on our notes right here. Which one are we reading?
The second one. So the other type of conflict that you may have to manage is an attachment injury.
I can see that. Okay. Attachment injuries. I like that. I don't think I've heard this one. Ooh, let me see. Attachment injuries. Okay. Yeah. Discussing past emotional injury. So I guess this kind of ties back into the moose bouche where if your partner suddenly gets histrionic or starts, acting like outside themselves in front of you, that may be a tie to a past, issue that may have come about from either a past relationship, could it have something that happened when it was kids, and perhaps even an attachment trigger or trigger to that. Okay, and attachment triggers are past emotional injuries that occurred prior to or during the relationship. Oh, okay, also happened during your current relationship.
Yeah, especially those people. You have a long history of being together.
That's true.
You said some shit in '95 that I ain't never forget.
That's true. It can create resentment from past events that have gone unresolved. And this reminds me of, was it from, what's the email that we were getting about the emotional intelligence?
From Justin Barriso.
Yeah, where I think he told the story about the milk carton rule.
Yes.
About the husband constantly gets frustrated because his wife continues to forget to put the milk back in the refrigerator after she uses it, and every time he does it, he goes to 100. He gets pissed off every time, and it was like, she's been doing this for the last 10, 15 years. Like, why haven't you learn to adapt or like recognize that this is not something she's doing out of like maliciousness, because he's been internalizing it as like disrespect to like, because he's told her like, yo, please put it back, you know, you're spoiling, the milk is going bad, you know, the longer you keep it out and things like that, and he's interpreting as her being like, fuck what you want, like I do what I want. And it was like, no, that's not what it is. It's just like she just does it, she just doesn't remember, and it's not anything malicious towards you, but his reaction to it could be attached to that.
Yes, definitely. A little bit of attachment, a little bit of resentment here of like, this been going on for X amount of years, and I keep telling you, and if I keep telling you and you're not listening to me, that must mean
you don't care about me, you don't fuck with me, you don't respect me.
I'm not important. You're not. I'm not worthy of you to take heed. You're not going to follow my lead on things. All of those things.
And that reminds me of how I felt when I was a kid growing up, where like my mom didn't give a shit about anything I tried to do, or you know, or past relationship where, you know, I got walked all over or disrespect, not walked over, but just constantly was disrespected in little ways, or maybe not so little.
So if it is an attachment injury, and we've talked about attachment style before, if you're avoidant, if you're anxious, if you're secure, or if you're secure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Avoidant and anxious are the insecure type, and then secure. And then if you're like discombobulated is not what they call it, but I'm gonna call it that. You a mix of avoidant and anxious, and you got it bad.
Yeah, you got it. You got it bad.
You got it bad. Yeah, right, you got it bad. So if any of those things, if any of those attachment styles are triggered by something, it is typically outside of the scope of a current conflict. It's like something that you did that triggered a past emotion. And so what you have to do to best be able to manage that conflict is speak to that. It's like, this is making me feel like
I feel statements.
Yes. I feel like, and this reminds me of 2019 when
I'm sorry for 2004.
I was thinking that back in the thick of the year. This reminds me of that time. And because it reminds me of that time, I feel unsafe. I feel insecure. I feel like
vulnerable.
Like I feel whatever these things. And then as a partner responding to that, you offer an apology for whatever things that you may have control over. Like we were talking about earlier, like if you have control over some action that you did that could potentially lead to that trigger, and now we have identified that this is a thing that can lead to a trigger, how do you do it less? How are you more thoughtful about introducing the behavior? How are you able to help like this person see that behavior as non-threatening?
Yeah, because while your partner is triggered based on your actions may have objectively been like innocuous. It might not have been like anything. You could have just been like, you know, eating some chips on the couch or something like that. Wow, you know, it could be rude because you may have you getting crumbs on the couch. But to her, it could be, you know, it's like every time someone eat on the couch, I got my ass beat afterwards, or some wild shit like that. So, yeah, that's gonna require discussion and probably therapy if it's that big of a trigger, that serious of a trigger, like of like, oh, I sit on the couch and you feel like you're going to get your ass beat. That's a wild example. I probably shouldn't have used it, but
when are your examples not wild?
I don't know.
They're always
memorable,
extreme.
It gets the people going.
It's provocative.
Yes, there it is.
The last tip here for managing conflict is about being in dialogue about the conflict. So basically, you just got to talk about it. If you
that's hard.
Gridlock yourself, which they coin as a time when you're like not talking about it. You've identified it, you know it exists, but you've elected to ignore it or not bring it up or sweep it kind of under the rug because that's what we're used to. That is going to do more harm to managing the conflict because it adds to that resentment. And once you get to resentment is one of the 4 horsemen for the Gottman, and it's a way to predict if your relationship finna be out of here.
Yeah, and it seems simple on the face of it, you know, just discussing the conflict, but as we, you know, highlighted earlier, we have a hard enough time just like acknowledging that conflict exists, and you know, instead of just, but we do avoid it. So, like what's the opposite of avoid it? Like facing it head on, and that requires you to talk about the thing, and that's real hard for a lot of people to do. By a lot of people, I mean most of us. And by most of us, I feel like damn near all of us. I think there's a special few of us that through training or otherwise are comfortable, like in the face of conflict or trying to discuss with conflict and things of that nature. So yeah, it's very hard to do it because now you have to. The better you are at discussing, in my opinion, conflict and responding to it in an appropriate manner, the more you have to be aware of your own like biases, your own triggers and traumas potentially, and have like a level of control over it to be able to control your defensive response. Like when you talk about the conflict, you may be triggered while talking about it, and you got to be aware of it enough to recognize that, like, as I'm talking about this, I'm feeling this type of way, but I'm pushing through regardless. I'm not allowing this to what's the word? I don't want to say taint, but I guess affect or influence the productivity of this conversation.
Yeah, because you can get triggered. Okay, so we were having a conversation this weekend where it was a challenging conversation. I was feeling vulnerable in the conversation, and I was like, I don't want to talk about anything else that's going to make me feel vulnerable. Like, I don't want to feel that way again. And having to recognize that feeling in the moment and then push past it for the next time that I wanted to have a conversation required a certain amount of skill and control to not only like identify it, but to be like, hey, the last time that we talked, I felt this way. And as a result of feeling that way, I didn't want to talk in that way anymore. I didn't want to be vulnerable in that way anymore. I know that that's not necessarily realistic or productive or healthy for us moving forward, but I want you to know that that's how I felt, and how can we, in the next time we have an opportunity to have a conversation that is vulnerable, avoid getting back to a space where I'm like, I don't want to talk about shit with you no more.
In order to do that, and not only do that, but perhaps be the first person to do that, requires a certain level of, emotional and mental fortitude in order to do it. And also, the more comfortable you are doing it, I feel like it also makes it easier for you to weed out people who aren't like for you. So like, because like you say that, and then based off my response to that, that's going to determine like how potentially the rest of this relationship is going, to happen. So like, if I responded in a negative fashion or in a way that wasn't productive, that could tell you like, oh, I can't trust this man with or this woman who, from whatever side it's coming from, that with these emotions, or it's possible that I'm going to be in a relationship where I'm going to be feeling like exposed and vulnerable, and my partner's not going to be there. My partner's not going to be receptive to like assisting and working together, and so I was like, that might not be a good move for you. So there's some benefits to being able to push past that uncomfortability to kind of get to the heart of it and discussing conflict, because one way or another, it's going to get resolved.
Yeah.
Kind of. Depending on the severity of the issue, but yeah.
Well, one way or another, you're going to have to manage it, I think is a more appropriate way to say it. Like, and if the management is solely on you, that leads to the resentment, which is not healthy for the relationship.
Because it's 1 to 4 hours, man.
Yeah, but it also leads to you feeling alone in your relationship. If it feels like we have an issue, but it's only my issue because I can't actually talk to you about it, I'm going to feel alone, because how can I have good times with you and like enjoy stuff with you, and then have an issue with you that I can't also share with you? I'm going to feel alone, and not like our relationship is as close or connected or intimate as it could be, because there's certain parts of me that you won't have an opportunity to see or engage with, which is not good for the health.
That's true. And the resentment, it's like the dark side. Resentment leads to anger, and anger leads to lack of respect, and lack of respect leads to a bad cycle. Anything can happen from there. Yeah, in the relationship, or
making choices outside the relationship.
You're saying, hey, something like that happened, and suddenly your partner suddenly turns around and they happy again. We're like,
Oh yeah, like my book. In a book that I was reading, a man and his wife had a conflict that they didn't do a good job of managing. They never resolved it because they had different opinions about it, and it wasn't something that could be resolved. But they also weren't managing it. They were avoiding it. They weren't talking about it. They started sleeping in separate rooms. They had one conversation about it, and the wife was like, "What issue?" And he was like,
all right, I got something for that ass. I got something for that ass then. All right.
Now you know we got an issue, lady. Why am I sleeping in a separate bedroom? Then all of a sudden, he's out for a family day. They're having a good old time. And her boss texts her like, we had such a great time last night. And it was like a picture of them kissing because she was cheating on him.
Wait, was that the issue? Was like she stopped like responding to him sexually? Like, why were they sleeping in separate? They
started sleeping in separate rooms because of it was external. It wasn't a sexual thing that led them to sleeping in separate rooms. They had a difference of opinion on a natural disaster. Like he wanted to help people, she wanted him to be at home. I was gonna say, remember I told you this.
Yeah, you definitely
did.
Now
this is a conflict we gotta manage, child. Yeah. If I tell Brandon something and he don't remember, I'd be like, wow. So I am gum on the bottom of your shoe.
Like, ooh, that's a large leap to make.
It is a large leap.
That's a very large leap to make.
But I make it. But I didn't make it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say I remember, but then I was like,
Soon as you told me, I was like, oh, okay. Okay, I remember that part now. You read a lot of books. And the types of books you read,
they do be dramatic.
So it's like, oh, okay, another book about like a weird unorthodox relationship for some reason. Conflict. I was like, I need you to
give me more.
Yeah, give me more to narrow this down. Which one are you talking about? Mm-hmm. But to your point, my memory is basura.
Okay, where are we at?
We did the management.
I feel like we should make this a 2-part.
Yeah,
we can come back and talk about the different conflict management styles, and we can talk a little bit about resolving conflict as well.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We gave you a little piece of taste, a couple of potential solutions for you if that's something you are currently in the midst of, and also tools you can use for when inevitably you will be in the midst of conflict. It's coming. It is inevitable.
It is coming.
Yeah, so
that's what she said.
He said it too. All right, y'all. Yo, so I appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of the Buffet Podcast with your boy Brandon and the lovely Ciandra.
Thanks, y'all. Make sure to check us out every Monday when we drop. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and be sure to subscribe and like here on the video.
YouTube, you drop it on Wednesdays.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. And we'll see y'all next time. Oh,
wait! Oh shit! No, we not yet.
Final food for thought.
Oh,
OMG!
Dang, we can.
You can remix it.
I can remix it a little bit. So,
what's your final food for thought, babe?
Final food for thought is. How much of I would like you to think back to all the conflict that you've had in all your relationships, whether that be romantic or otherwise, family, friends, things of that nature. What were the outcomes of that conflict? Did it have to end how it did? Like, was there room for management? Like, could you have managed that situation better and preserve the relationship relatively well? And if not, why? And with that information, how are your current relationships that you currently have? Like, is there anything, bubbling, anything that you feel like you think it needs to be resolved, but really, it could be managed or it needs to be managed? Because like we said, it's only like a third of conflict within relationships can be successfully resolved. So I know we all like to think that we are special and you're always in the 1/3%, or the small percentage that, it comes to the positive outcome. We all regular. Like a good amount of your shit falls within that 60% where it's not going to be resolved. So humble yourself and recognize, and hopefully I hope y'all learn to recognize or are able to recognize where you can manage the conflict and where resolution has to happen.
Fair. I would say my final food for thought is, I mean, I feel like we say this a lot, time and time again, but to communicate
I knew it.
and to communicate effectively, I think it takes a lot of courage and awareness to be able to communicate your emotions. Because you have to do a lot within yourself to know what you're feeling to better be able to say it to someone else. So I recognize that is a skill. And if you are in your single season and you aren't with anyone, work on that skill. Like, work on like saying what you're feeling when you're feeling it. Even if
identify it.
Yeah, like I think even if there isn't any stimuli, like even if it isn't another person that is making you feel that way, if you wake up and you feeling some type of way, what are you feeling? Best be able to identify that. So when you are in a space that you would benefit from communicating your emotions, you'll be able to do it because you've had practice to kind of identify it, and it'll save you from conflicts that are not rooted in what the actual problem is. For example, what we were talking about earlier with the toilet seat is like, if you just get pissed about the toilet seat, but you don't say how the toilet seat is making you feel, if you can't identify why it is truly a problem for you, you're not going to have the kind of results that you want or be able to manage the conflict in the way that you want, because the other person might be like, damn, it's just the toilet seat.
Mm-hmm. And also you're not going to get to the root of the problem, which means I think it just kind of throws back to an early episode where we're talking about, if you don't get to like what the real issue of that, are you headed that way?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
well, no, I mean, if you don't get to the real root of what the issue is, you'll just keep having the same argument about different things because you never identify what it is that you're feeling or like how certain behaviors make you feel. So you're going to argue about the seat. You're going to argue about when the garbage goes out. You're going to argue about the dishes. And like all of those things may be rooted in, I don't feel like you're considerate of me. Like, I don't feel like you are a teammate to me and willing to work with me to make sure that our household is clean, that our household is safe. Like, I just don't feel like you're working with me to make those things happen. That's the problem.
The issue. Yeah. If you, and that has to be resolved.
Yes.
That's not a management. The toilet seat is a management. I feel like you don't value me and you care about me. That needs to be resolved. Yeah,
that needs to be resolved because you have to figure out a way for this person to show that to you in a way that you can receive it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Now we're really done. Now we're really done. So like I said, we appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode. What episode is this?
77.
77. Damn. 77. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Look, double sevens.
It's triple sevens. I
know, but so we'll take two. You know what I'm saying? Two out of three. 77. Appreciate y'all tuning in. If y'all watching this on YouTube, go ahead, hit that like if you haven't. Hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Trying to run these numbers up. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Bye.